So we're looking at Matthew chapter 13, verse 33. There's been a whole day of conflict. All of this spills out of that, which takes place in chapter 12. It's the overwhelming battle between Jesus and the Pharisees and their legalism and their 613 oral traditions, and they're after Jesus. They have even gotten so upset they've plotted murder, how they're going to kill him. Not are they going to kill him, but how are they going to kill him? So they're after him. They've even got to the place where they are trying to sway the crowd by saying that he's in league with Beelzebub, the ruler of the demons. So basically he's full of the devil. That's how he does all of the stuff he's doing. And of course he just broke all of their Sabbath day laws, which is what's upsetting them so much. And Jesus gives them strong teaching. He gives them theology. He gives them logic. He gives them argument. He does everything he could possibly do to convince them, and they still aren't buying in. You come up at that night then, and Jesus shifts his whole technique of preaching, and he moves into telling parables. And chapter 13 is the beginning of those parables. And as you move into the parables, you begin to, the disciples recognize, of course, that he was doing a whole different approach. They come to Jesus and say, hey, why are you preaching different? Why are you changing style here? What's the deal here? You're telling a bunch of stories now. And Jesus said, hey, I'm doing this to reveal, not conceal. I'm not trying to keep anybody out, not trying to hide anything. I've given logic, I've given theology, I've taken them back to the Old Testament. None of that seemed to work, didn't penetrate. So I'm telling stories that these stories might somehow capture their imagination. And as they're driving down the road in their chariot, it might, just penetrate. The Spirit of God would penetrate and bring revelation to them. The first parable he told was the parable of the sower, which gave 4 soils, which bespeaks the idea of what was in the crowd he was talking to. It was like, I'm talking to you, you're one of these. Which one are you? Then he moved into the parables of the kingdom. And the first parable of the kingdom was the parable of the wheat and the tares, which is verse 24. The kingdom is like, and he begins the parable that way. The second parable is verse 31, the parable of the mustard seed, and it starts, the kingdom of heaven is like. Now the third parable is one verse, verse 33, which we've been looking at, which again starts with, the kingdom of heaven is like. Look at it carefully, verse 33. Another parable, he spoke to them. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till it was all leavened. Reading it again. Another parable he spoke to them. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till it was all leavened. Now there's a direct tie between this parable, of course, and the parable of the mustard seed and the parable of the wheat and the tares. So there's a flow of truth taking place. It's just added on to, add on to, add on to, reveal more kind of a deal as he tells the parables. So basically they're all connected and all saying the same thing. We've been trying to get at the concept at the heart of the parable of the leaven. The heart of the parable in concept seems to be mashed together in 3 distinct elements that form the one concept. And we've been walking through those elements. One is the idea of measure. The idea of measure is that there was this small amount of leaven that was hidden in this 3 measure of meal. Large, small, large. It's the measure. You get the same thing in the parable of the mustard seed. Small mustard seed, whoops, dropped it, won't have a chance in the world of finding it. Why? It's too small. It will blend in with everything else and you'll never, it's too small. It's the smallest seed the Jew knew anything about that literally grew into the largest tree that they knew anything about. So again, we've got this measure idea. Small, great. And that concept is absolutely significant in the whole production and reality of the kingdom itself. See, if you're looking for some big deal, I'm sorry. See, back to the Elijah thing. If you're looking for the wind and God is in the wind, he's not. If you're looking for the storm, God is not in the storm. And in the Elijah thing, it ended up, God is in this small, still voice. So the parable is based on, come on, what are you looking for? Well, I'm looking for, no. Why don't you just respond to the truth that you know? Now that moves us into the second idea, measure, but the second idea, which is all tied into that, and that's the method. See, he's bespeaking that the kingdom has a method to it. And the method is very specific. It's leaven that's hid in the 3 measure of meal. And we broke this down into 3 parts, and we've been walking through these 3 parts. One is the idea of profile. When the Jews came to profile the new kingdom and said, what's it going to be like? How did they see it? They saw it as Jesus the Messiah being a military, mighty, incredible Hulk, Superman, machine gun, kill all my enemies. Solve all the problems. Woo! Mighty. Wow, it finally happened. That's the way they viewed it. And Jesus comes and he's this little babe hid in a manger in a stable. Well, that doesn't fit. See, Jesus comes and shepherds gather around, coochie coo. See, that doesn't fit. See, that just doesn't fit. He is obscure for 30 years, and the boy does nothing. That doesn't fit. And then when he does begin to do something, it's with all these needy people who have all kinds of physical problems and all kinds of whoa. And his whole crowd is full of them. And nobody important ever attends that group except to inspect and report back and to judge. So where is this? See, they could not see that, in fact, the sign-seeking deal was all wrapped up in that. Jesus, do something really big. You know, lift the roof off this church and then put it back down, and then maybe we'll consider. See, do something really big. And they were looking for all of that. Well, what are you looking for? Well, I'll tell you. If God would just lightning bolts, maybe he's not going to come to you in a lightning bolt. I was there when the fire fell. Well, maybe the fire's not going to fall. Maybe this is about God has already spoken truth to your life, and it's time you responded to it. And what more would he need to do to you than give you truth and you respond to it? See, if you're waiting for God to pick you up and throw you against the wall and slap you upside the head, he's already been doing that with your circumstances. So I'd say it's time to, whoa. I mean, come on. What are you looking for? See, if you're looking for signs and wonders, well, hey, it's okay. But maybe he's given you all the signs and wonders, and he's been doing the miracles all around you, and you. See, I'm an evangelist, people. And I've dreamed of preaching in a place where God would hit that place. Oh, and the air would be so thick with his presence. Oh, I can just see this in my dreams. So thick with his presence, and people would just walk in it and fall flat on their face, and miracles would take place, and people would get under conviction, and the old revival thing, and it would just go on, and there would be signs and wonders, and cars going down Main Street would suddenly they would quit working, and people would get out and come over here, and we'd pack this place out, and revival would the streets would be jammed, and we'd just have, whoa, revival hit this place, and the place would just be, wow, knock that wall out, we need more room, and it would just be so phenomenal, it would just be, wow, and this town we'd shake this town at its core, and it'd be in the papers, and of course I'd be the star preacher, and it would be great. Never happened once in my life. So maybe the way to win this town is not, whoa, lightning bolts, woo! Maybe it's the consistent presence of his being in your life and mine that walks the streets and constantly spills him out. And maybe it's hidden and it's, whoa, look out, Lebanon, you're being invaded. And you don't even know it. Maybe that's what this is. They missed him because he came and invaded them, and they didn't see it. Now, another factor in all this profile thing is this portion. In other words, when you come to say, how far do you go with this? Look at the passage, verse 33. The kingdom of heaven is like leaven, which a woman took and hid in 3 measures of meals. You got this hide idea, and I don't want to hide. I want to be on the front page. But you see in the passage, there is this objective. In other words, the leaven is hid in the meal for a single overwhelming objective. And what is the objective? The whole thing is going to be invaded. That's what he's after. The whole thing is going to be invaded. And it's interesting that the word all, as you remember the last time, because we talked about this then, the word all is not the normal word for all. It's not pas, P-A-S. It's holos, which is the idea of complete. So the idea is that the entire 3 measure of your life would literally be infiltrated with this leaven and would influence every cell of your being, every thought of your mind. An invasion is taking place. That's the method. Which brings us to what I want to talk about tonight, which is progression. So you got profile, portion, and progression. Now, the progression is so obvious that in every one of these parables, there is, and I don't like this, I wish this wasn't true, but it is true. And in every one of these parables, there is this distinct progression that's highlighted. See, I like to get it settled. See, what I want to do is I want to go to college, take biblical theology, get it down. I know it all. Put it in a box, put a ribbon around it, and set it on a shelf. Say, don't need to think about that anymore. Why? See, I want to come to an altar of prayer. Hey, forgive me. Okay, thank you. Write my name down. Okay. Psst. Give me a badge. Got it right here. Thank you. I'm in. That way I can come to church on Sunday and sleep comfortably because nobody can say anything that I need because I already got it all. See, I don't need to argue with anybody. I don't need to. Why? Because I've arrived. See, I bumped my head once there and twice down there. I'm in. See, I like that. Don't you like that? I like that. But when you get into these parables, the kingdom of heaven is like a mustard seed planted and progression. Well, when does it become a tree? Well, later. And then now, it's later. Well, I don't want later. I want now. Oh, I'm sorry. We're in progression here. What do you want to do with that? See, all the parables are like that. Even the wheat and the tares is the owner of the field plants the seed and lets both tares and wheat grow until the harvest. And there is a completion in that story, in the harvest, and there will be a harvest, I got that. But there's this progression, this idea, and this is certainly true in the leaven. You plant the leaven, and then you go to sleep at night, and you come back the next morning, and it's just, whoa. And there was a progression that took place. And that progression seems to really be important. See, that the purpose of all of this, well, let me give you a little outline on this. Number one, goal. So we're talking about progression. And in the progression, there's a goal. What's the goal? Well, the goal, which is like the objective, is that there is a, how could I say this so it would be like you've never heard it? See, there is a plan. And the progression is the unfolding of the plan. And the leaven is hid in the meal and fulfills in progression the plan itself. Now again, that's the opposite of what I want. See, I don't want to get involved in some detailed plan. See, I don't want you coming to me and say, would you like to become a part of and commit to every month you will? Well, no, that's long range. I'm not interested in that. I'm willing to give you $10 now, get you off my neck. But I don't want to do that every month. Because that's too much involvement. See, I'm willing to come to church when you've got something spectacular going on. Oh, have the quartet, I'll be there. But I don't want to roll my sleeves up and get involved in the... See, I don't mind kneeling an altar of prayer and have you rescue me from hell. Woo! Thank you, Jesus. But a long-range plan for my life that just infiltrates my living and determines my thinking and shapes my character and well, how long is it going to last? Well, but that's what he's talking about, folks. He's talking about you enlisting your life into a phenomenal plan that he has for you, and that plan just works its way day after day after day and shapes your career and shapes your thinking and shapes your character and shapes your life, and your life is literally being overwhelmingly influenced by this long-range plan. Well, when's it gonna? This is not a, well, I don't mind coming to Sunday school. Have a 6 weeks class. I'll commit myself to 6 weeks, but longer than that, but that's not this. See, this is you jumping in with both feet saying, here I am, hide yourself in me, invade my life, and let's get after this every single day of my life. And however you want to direct. And when does he begin to cease to direct? When does it come to the point well, it doesn't. What do you want to do with that? Because you see, the truth of it is, I'm convinced that's never going to end. Well, let me go to the second idea. So there's the goal. So what he's talking about in this progression is that there is a progression there is a goal in the progression. This whole thing is going someplace in a distinct plan of the divine for your life, and will you jump into this plan, which is long range? Are you looking for a quick fix? Are you looking for immediate relief? Are you looking for lightning bolt? Oh, thank you. I feel better. See, what are you? And if you're looking for that, go get drunk. They tell me you feel better for a while. Maybe not. That's not what he's talking about. Now, the second idea that's connected with this progression is goal and growth. So obviously, in this plan, there is a progression that's taking place, which is all about growth, which is the heart of every one of these parables. Because it's interesting, he speaks these parables in an agricultural society, which is all involved and knows deeply the progression of growth. And now comes to the leaven, which goes to you women in the kitchen. And men. Because I know nothing about leaven at all. But he goes to that and gives you this same progression that he taught me in the field. So he's covering everybody with this concept. So that there is this whole idea of this progression of growth. And I really want you to get this concept tonight. So I don't know how the Lord is going to reveal this to us. See, the leaven is hid in the 3 measures of meal, and it's going to stay there until, and you see that in the passage, that's the wordage. In verse 33, the woman took and hid in 3 measures of meal till it was all leavened. So the idea is this leaven is to stay in the meal till it was all leavened. But there's no indication that it really ever got there. So walk with me on this. Newborn babe. Oh, isn't he cute? Yeah, he is. Do you know this newborn babe is 1/4 human? Well, yeah. He's 1/4 human. When he gets to be a teenager, he'll be half human. Middle age, 3/4 human. But when you get to be senior adult, you have arrived in wisdom, stature, with God and man. And you are totally, absolutely human. Took a while to get here, folks. God bless you. Hope you have a good journey. And you know that isn't true. This babe is as human as you can get. Well, but he's not on the level of a senior adult. That's true. But we're not dealing with that. We're dealing with human. And everything that is present within the human being is present in this baby. And growth has nothing to do with that. Now, in theology, we understand that. Come on, track on this. We understand that. We understand that perfectly. I kneel at an altar of prayer, and the leaven is planted in my life, and the very presence of God invades my flesh, and I literally merge with the divine, and he literally comes and lives within me, and he saves me. I'm born from above. I become a Christian, and you will never get any more Christian than you are at that moment. Because that's Christian. That's always Christian. But you're not a senior adult. There is going to be growth involved in that. Now the condition, let's go back to, I'm this babe. He's invaded my flesh. The Bible calls that, in the King James Version, perfect. Which is the word complete. Well, you just said you're not complete because you're a babe. I know. That's where you got to track with me. So there is growth in that, understand, but in the heart level of God moving into your life, there is a completeness that takes place in that is always present all the way through the growth. And the minute that is not true at the heart level, the growth ceased to be. Now that's plain in the leaven illustration. The leaven comes in and there is no resistance to the invasion of the leaven. Well, it's not fully, the 3 loaves of meal, the 3 measures of meal, it's not fully invaded. I understand that. But there's no resistance. And the leaven is moving through and doing its thing. I understand. But it's not fully. I know. It's not complete. I got it. When will it be complete? There's no indication it will be. But it is moving through, and the loaf, the 3 measure of meal, never has any resistance to the invasion of the leaven. So he's saying to us, don't you understand? I want to merge with you, and I'll merge with you in a moment in time. I will be planted in your life. I will hide in the depth of your heart. Will you just open to me? Embrace your helplessness. Let me come, and let's form the kingdom, you and me together. And I can't be the kingdom, you can't be the kingdom, but together with him, we are the kingdom. And in that merger at the heart level, all resistance is gone to everything I know about, and I am wide open. And he begins this process in my life of invading my whole personhood and changing me from the very core all the way through. And at the core, there is this wide open. There is no resistance there. And the minute resistance comes in, I'm shut down. I'm shut down. In other words, do you understand what we mean by surrender to Jesus? Well, I did that. Wait a minute. Surrender is never stagnant. It's always fluid. And you can say to me tonight, well, I've surrendered all to Jesus. What do you mean by that? Well, everything I know about, everything God has spoken to me about, I've surrendered to Jesus. Yes, I've surrendered to Jesus. Well, how big is it? Well, it's this big right here. And I've surrendered all of that to Jesus. I've given it all to him. Well, that's fine. But guess what? Tomorrow you're going to find out something else. And that surrender is going to have to enlarge to include that. Well, I thought I was totally surrendered today. Well, you are. But tomorrow, a new issue. Oh, surrendered that. A new issue. Oh, surrendered that. In fact, the scripture says that Jesus himself learned obedience by the things he suffered. And that in his life, while he was totally obedient to God at this point, that enlarged, and the Bible scholars say that verse in Hebrews is related to the Garden of Gethsemane. He had never been to a Garden of Gethsemane before. He had always been obedient to his Father, so he'd surrendered everything, but he came right into the Garden of Gethsemane and, whoa, I've not crossed this bridge before. And brother, you can't cross the bridge until you come to it. You can say you're going to, you can say you intend to, but you haven't crossed it until you come to it. So there's no resistance at any point in this progression. So the newborn Christian is absolutely perfect, merged with God, woo, at the heart level. He's totally surrendered. Well, sure he is. Why? He surrendered everything he knows to Jesus. There's no time you can be Christian and not surrender everything you know to Jesus. You can't say, well, yeah, I've surrendered 99%, but hey, I'm holding 1% back. Then you're not Christian. You cannot surrender. You cannot be Christian without surrendering everything to Jesus, everything you know about. Well, does that mean I'm totally surrendered? Yes. At the heart level. Does that mean there's never going to be any growth or anything left? No. It means at this moment, everything I know, whoa, he and I are, whoa. But tomorrow, guess what? New things are going to show up. Well, let's back up and say all that again. See, that is such a key concept. Such a key concept. In fact, I am convinced that that's never going to stop, which is the third point, which is glory. So you got this goal. The goal of this progression is that the whole 3 measures of meal would be penetrated and influenced by the leaven. That's the goal. So that the presence of Jesus would invade your place and change you until every aspect of your life is literally demonstrating his glory and seen as his image. That's the goal. What's involved in that? Growth, which means I haven't arrived to that. There are areas of my life, I'm sure, that aren't in on that yet, but I don't know about it. And the growth that's taking place is at the heart of my life. I have totally, absolutely given everything to Jesus, and I'm in, son, and there is no resistance. And as he develops this in my life, it just unfolds. And you walk in that all the time, in that growth. And the glory of this is, I am convinced that's never going to quit. I think when you get to heaven, that's still going to be. I think the plan of God, oh, you got to get this. I think the plan of God is so phenomenal for your life that it's going to go on and on and on and on. And 1 billion years from now, in heaven, I'll whack you on the back and say, how it's going? I say, whoa, still growing, man. God's revelation in my life. Whoa, I can't believe what I got into yesterday. I was reading the Bible and whoo, blew my mind. That's how big his plan is for your life. And you don't want to miss that, man. Can you imagine sacrificing that for some dumb little pleasure of a 5-second deal down here? Come on. Can you imagine selling that because you're full of yourself and pride? And don't do it. Don't do it. Because what he wants to do in you is so fun. Oh, no resistance. Just jump in, will you? Just, oh, here I am, and just let him do it. And the moment you resist, you're shut down. Lord, I'm embarrassed because I have resisted. You spoke and I hesitated. You directed and I compromised. You commanded and I said maybe. To paint myself in the best light, I've drug my feet. Would you put wings on my feet? I'd like to fly into your total will. I'd like to leap into all you're desiring. God, I want to be so open to you that you can just invade me and there's no hesitation and there's no resistance and there's no drawing back and there's no blockading. You don't have to rechannel. You don't have to come and say it twice. You don't have to you don't have to hit me over the head with a ball bat. God, I'm so hard-headed. I'm so hard-headed. And I know, God, I can come to an altar tonight and I can say, I'm jumping in, God. I'm in, God, but tomorrow. So I'm not looking for lightning bolts tonight, and I'm not looking for signs and wonders tonight, and I'm not looking for whoa. I want to get together with you in such an intimacy that you are turned loose in my life, moment by moment, day by day, to infiltrate and change and direct. I want to live in the sensitivity of the nudges of the divine. So, God, what do you need to do in me? Heads are bowed. Well, preacher, I don't feel anything. Totally beside the point. No thumb in my back. Totally beside the point. My heart's not beating fast. Totally beside the point. Have you heard truth? And if there's truth, He's the one that's speaking it to you. Will you respond? Would you let Him hide Himself in your life tonight? Would you risk what He would do to you in the long range, where He will take you as He fulfills His plan, as the leaven invades your flesh, and in moment by moment ways beyond what you even know, He is literally transforming your life into His image? No resistance. One intent. One focus. One desire. That's what He's calling you to tonight. So we're just praying in moments of seeking. Be obedient.